Hi, I'm Alison Sepanera.
And I'm Taylor.
And we're the hosts of the Anxiety Chicks podcast, where we dive deep into the reality of anxiety, nutrition, and mental health.
Listen as we explore all things anxiety healing while keeping it real, including our own struggles with mental health.
We'll bring our expertise as healing professionals to the conversation while discussing the tools and strategies you need to heal the anxious mind.
Listen to the Anxiety Chicks on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Anxiety Chicks podcast. I'm Alison Sepanera.
And I'm Taylor.
And we're excited to be back with you all today. If you're watching on YouTube, you're probably thinking, Allie, where the heck are you? And let me just tell you all, it's been a day. It's actually been like a horrible last couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go into it more on a separate episode. Follow the Anxiety Chicks on Instagram to find out when it comes out. But I had a pretty bad health scare. I had, I'm in my mid 40s, so I do have routine mammograms. So if you don't get your mammograms, get them, ladies. Okay. And it came back abnormal. So there was just a lot that I had to go through with that. And for anyone that's been there, you know how scary that can be. I'll kind of inform you a different episode, kind of exactly what's happening and what's going on. But I had to kind of take a breather. So I've been kind of, going back and forth to sort of doctors, and today I was feeling grateful because I just wanted to, I'm not sure when this episode's the Q&A, so it'll be out the first week of July. But next week is my vacation, and I wanted to kind of be on vacation, and try and check out a little bit. So I decided to leave a couple days early to go down to the beach house that we have. That we've been renovating. I've been kind of talking about that on here. And when I got here, we just recently we don't have central air. It's a very small beach cottage in the Jersey Shore. And if anyone from that area remembers the Jersey Shore, 20, 30, 40 years ago, none of the houses down here were huge. They were all little beach cottages. Nothing really you always opened up your cottage in the summer and closed it up for the winter. No one ever really came down. Now that's all totally changed, except we wanted to keep our house the same. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. But we're so grateful that we're getting it renovated, but we've recently just got these splitters, they're called. I don't know if you know what those are, Taylor. Mm-mm. They're sort of like AC units. They're not window units, but they have these options now that are more eco-friendly and cost-efficient. And, where I see them all the time, if anyone is either there right now listening to us or is on their way or what, but at nail salons. For some reason, nail salons have these splitters, and they're about, I would say 4 feet wide and maybe 2 feet thick. And they are on the closer to the ceiling on the walls, not on the ceiling. And they just look prettier, and they're pretty efficient in helping give you air in each individual room. Well, let me just tell you, it's been about 120 degrees down here. And even in Philly, it's even worse. And I just got here for the first time, and I literally thought I was going to pass out. So I've had to sit in my car for the past half hour with my dog. That's another thing. I was so nervous about my dog. And as I turned everything on, and now things are finally getting cooler. But if you know, for anyone that knows about splitters or doesn't have central air and it has window units, it takes a little bit of time to cool the place down. But also it is a major heat wave in the East Coast right now. And
really?
Oh yeah, it's dangerous. They're calling a code. I don't know what it is. Is it code red when it's a heat wave? Code blue when it's cold? I don't remember. So I'm here, and that's just a little update on my life. So if you're watching on YouTube and I look really sweaty and disgusting, my apologies. Okay. But of course, we're all about keeping it real here. And I think that's why people keep coming back. So we love you guys, but we want to get into the Q&A. Taylor, actually, how are you doing? I'm sorry. I just took up so much time.
No. Hey, like I said in text, there's seasons of life, right? And I would say I'm on a bit of a season of life too. I feel like I don't know. You kind of know what I've said before, but since I turned 30, just figuring myself out fully and like my health and like, all of that. And it's a journey, right? And actually, one of the questions today will really kind of tie into some of the stuff I'm going through. And I think you relate too. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, well, let's get into it. Let's get
let's do
into
it.
it. Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess we could just start with that question. So, how do you handle sudden increases in health anxiety? Was okay for months, then suddenly new focus. So, I would say yeah, since something about me turning 30, I don't know if that was the trigger, but I was fine and like I've been fine for years and I feel like I've really grown in my health anxiety, right? And it's one of those things that I feel like you have to keep working at if you really want to get through the whole fear and the whole part of it. I think it's easy to make progress and be like, I feel so good, and then kind of stop there and stop growing in your mental health journey. And so I think I'm just on this like new journey of like, okay, are we living in a lot of distraction? Are we living in a lot of are we able to be in silence and present, and what does that feel like when we are? And so what I've been like learning recently, especially I'm doing this 30-day anxiety challenge for myself, and it's really required me to be present and be not jump to the things that are easy to distract myself and distract my mind from focusing on things that I do worry about. And what I've learned is my brain is really loud. Even though I've come a long way, I'm uncomfortable sitting in the loudness. I'm uncomfortable. And that's why I think for the longest time, I was like, yoga's not for me, meditation's not for me. And I think a lot of people feel that way because they're like, God, when I meditate or when I do yoga, it's so, so loud and it's almost worse. I feel worse. And it's like, yeah, because you're really uncomfortable being present. You're really uncomfortable in your mind. You're distracting it all the time just to get through the day. And I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm really proud of myself for how far I've come, but this isn't how I want to live the rest of my life. I don't want to live the rest of my life just being like, okay, I have these techniques to distract myself if things get bad, and like, hey, I don't go into a full-blown panic attack, and hey, like, but it's like safety behaviors. I kind of talked about this when I went on my trip, is like, God, I'm still stuck in these safety behaviors and I really want to be set free from them. And so, yeah, I could continue my life with how I feel day to day and not work on these things, but that will hold me back. And I think that I just want to be set free from all that. So, long story short, when you confront these thoughts and when you confront your loud brain with silence and stillness, you're going to feel a lot and a lot's going to come up. And that's kind of what I've been going through. And I found my brain drifting, and it's, oh, you're dealing with these headaches, focusing on these headaches, focusing on this, and that's the literal anxious brain trying to take over because I am in silence. I am not distracting myself. I am putting my phone down. And so I don't know if you've related to this, or you could kind of chime in on the feeling of when you finally don't allow yourself to be busy, when you finally shut off all the distractions, how it can
Yeah.
really come up for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that everything you said, especially when it comes to the health, the anxiety around health, because I think that there's so much about other anxieties that seem so much more controllable than health, right? So say you struggle with like social anxiety, right? There's so much work you can do in a behavioral sense of how to help yourself through certain social situations and expose you to that and all of that, and do more certain exposures and different phobias and for obsessive compulsive, right? But when it comes to your health, it is so unpredictable. The root of the anxiety around that is almost always your fear of death,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, how are you supposed to work through those moments when those thoughts are so loud and you are just clearly in such a fight or flight state because your brain just keeps saying, you're dying, you're dying, you're dying? And I mean, the fact of the matter is, I've said this a million times on this podcast, but we're all dying, right?
Yeah.
All of us. All of us are dying. We don't know when or what or, but all of us are going to not be here at some point. And even that thought itself is really scary for someone to think about or say to themselves. And so that's kind of how I felt the last couple of weeks, um, with the health scares that I've been dealing with as well, is the loudness. the loudness of the thought. And when it becomes loud, it just becomes so much more intrusive, and the ruminating and the cycle keeps spiraling and spiraling. And of course, we know that if we don't catch our spiral, like at a certain time when it's happening, in the sort of the beginning of it, and we become aware of it, it goes from 0 to 60 like so fast, and it is so hard to get out of it.
Yeah. I feel like that's something I've come a long way with like, I don't go into those full-blown panic attacks, and I think I was so proud of myself for getting through that. And panic disorder is such a beast that I felt so good of like, I can live my everyday life and function, but like, are we fully functioning? Like when you really ask yourself. And I think it hit me because like my husband, he flew to Italy to go on this hike with his sister, and I couldn't go. And so I think those little things are like, okay, it is still there. You haven't fully worked through it all. And that really hit me is you're the only reason you're not going is because you're literally held back by fear. And that's sad. And when you really sit with that and you really feel that and you really experience it, and it's put right in your forefront, you're like, oh, this isn't how I want to live anymore. And so one thing I also wanted to say to you is the way you were able to get through like your mammogram results and then go get that ultrasound, the in between, how that part, the health anxiety of that part, and laying on that bed with them about to do the next procedure. I mean, that for the anxious brain.
Well, you have no idea. This has opened a new, which is what I will talk on this. I'm going to record it after this actually, but on this other episode, the awareness I have of this whole process and how we are just, it's like a machine where women are just considered just robots. We go in, we get the test, we go out, we come back, we get a call, we go out. I mean, especially the first like couple exams and tests that you have within how many couple weeks before you find out like what's going on, because after an ultrasound you might get an MRI, and then you might get a biopsy, and then you don't know after the biopsy. It could be weeks that people are waiting.
I texted you about that, and that literally happened to my mom, and it kept her from ever going back. And that's the sad part. And like the thing with, that's why I'm saying this part with like, hey, I had a grasp on my health anxiety and now I'm like triggered. How do you, I know you're going to talk about it on the episode you're going to record, but it's like, how do you get through that? How does somebody who struggles with health anxiety get through that waiting period? I get it. Like I totally resonate with anybody who's, I was good and now I'm not.
So, the fact of the matter is I didn't have that long of a wait between when I found out the results and I got the other exam. And
but it was from like a cancellation, right?
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
So that's the only reason.
Gonna...
It would have happened like yesterday if I didn't. And I'm thinking,
how does one function? I'm seriously asking. How do you go to bed? How do you...
So that's the thing. And this is like part of this question, right? Is that with you have this sudden increase in it. So people that struggle with health anxiety, you'll know when I say this, you'll be like, yes, this happens to me. It never goes away. It just kind of gets dormant. It sort of goes to sleep. When you're feeling good, it goes to sleep. You're kind of, it's in the back of your mind, but your level is more like 2 or 3 on average in a given day. So when you have something happen to you, this sudden spike of health anxiety, like this person asked, it was okay for months. And then suddenly there's just this it seems out of nowhere, or you have results or something. Your body goes into such a fight or flight state. I felt so disassociated. Nothing mattered.
Yeah.
Nothing mattered. All I just wanted to do was be around people that made me feel safe. I honestly, going on telling my story through Instagram, because I updated everybody on my stories, I was in real time showing people what was going on with me, because I think there are so many women that are so scared shitless in that waiting period. And no one really acknowledges how that waiting period keeps you in this disassociated, dreamlike state. Because you just literally, especially with health anxiety, that's it. You're done. You're going to get a horrible diagnosis, and then nothing's going to cure you, and you're going to die early. You're going to die young. Yeah. I mean, that is just what goes through your mind. And there's no one or nothing that, you see or hear that, helps you understand more about it. So I did some research myself. I posted on the Instagram, and the amount of messages I got back of people just saying, thank you so much for talking about this. I had this too, and this is what happened to me. And I have a feeling, everyone was saying, you'll be okay, just take it one step at a time. And I think what I learned is community.
Mm-hmm.
Community, like, honestly, that's what got me through. The community of people on the anxiety healer, and my community in my support system, in my life. And even so, after that all happened, my body is still not okay. My brain and my body is still feeling very scattered, very much like, I canceled some work stuff. I just couldn't, I literally couldn't do anything. And so community was huge. Having support was huge for me. Telling my story was huge. Talking to the right people was huge. And then also I did some incredible meditations on Insight Timer, specifically for health anxiety. I worked a lot on my breathing, because I could tell that my breathing, I did a lot of things that grounded me. So my yoga studio, I talk about all the time. I made sure I went and was around community and moved my body. And so I just kind of upped the ante. So now, not even just with health anxiety, but when you're in any kind of spiral, you want to reach into your toolkit, and you want to maybe really just, maybe if you prioritize a couple tools throughout your, daily life that's included in your lifestyle change, awesome. But maybe there's other tools you kind of haven't tapped into in a while. I totally just grabbed all of them. I mean, not physically, some of them, yes. But I just went into my toolkit and I said, what do I have? What do I know? A lot of it was cognitive work. I made sure I journaled and I talked to myself and really just tried to ground myself as much as possible. And also I took like melatonin sleep aids, like, medicine's good. So this is a long-winded question, but I'll talk way more about the actual process.
It's so important, and it affects so many people. And that's why it's important for us to talk even this long on it, because when you do struggle, and that's why it's so important, like you said, your toolkit, to be prepared. It's like how a lot of people have preparation for storms, right? Like you have a preparation box or something in your house for disaster or whatever, a first aid kit. You don't buy a first aid kit when you're hurt. Usually you have your first aid kit at home. It's the same thing. Like you should have your anxiety toolkit and the tools that you can go to when you do have these flares, because like Alison said, health anxieties, you can get it dormant. You can get it to a place where you function day to day. And that's what I said in the beginning, is like anxiety used to rule my every single day, panic attacks all day long. And then I got it to this place where I felt like I had a good grip on it, but that doesn't mean the work stops there. You have to keep working on it. And you have to also have your mind set ready for when those flares do happen. What are you going to do? What are the things you're going to turn to?
Yeah. And you have to remember, when it comes to health anxiety, a high percentage of the way our brain works, and for people that struggle with illness, anxiety disorder is actually what the diagnosis is called. Your brain is going to catastrophize. Your brain is going to catastrophize, which is one of the cognitive distortions, or what we call cognitive distortions in the cognitive behavioral world. And it's basically the way our thought is errored. And it is one of the loudest and the most intense cognitive distortion that someone with health anxiety has, is catastrophizing. It is, what is the worst case scenario? I'm going to die. And so you have to be very aware of when your brain is starting to ruminate. So really you have to try and catch it. And I think me telling my story, people understand. I've told my story about my own anxiety, and I do it for a living. I teach it for a living. I educate about it. It doesn't make me made of stone, So I think sharing that vulnerability really helped me. And I think the more that we can have a conversation, then people that might not have a community when they go through things like I did, I can be their community, or like our space can be their community, or our pages can be their community. And I think that is really what I want to try and include now in the space of my social media, is to just keep the conversation going with women that go through things like this. And I'm just thinking about it.
I'm sure you got that mammogram. you got your results. And I think everybody who struggles with anxiety, when they read that result, they immediately see themselves getting chemo. They immediately see themselves getting radiation. There is no, like my husband, he's the opposite of us. So like if he got that result, he'd be like, I'll just, we'll see what the ultrasound says. Like truly, that is truly where his brain goes. And like, I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he has that brain.
What is that like?
I know. I have so many stories on him, like back to the Italy trip. Like he hurt his Achilles like really bad. He fell off a dirt bike. No way he should be like hiking the elevation he is with the risk of like rupturing his Achilles in the middle of nowhere. But he's like, I'll be okay. I'm like, okay, you're amazing, whatever. But anyways, aside from that, it's like most people who are listening to this who struggle with health anxiety, you are exactly like Alison and I, like me with the headaches too. In my head, I already have gone to the point of, I'm really scared to get an MRI because the MRI will probably show I have a lesion or something of some sort that we're going to have to handle. And so it's better, not to think about that, because once we confront and see that lesion, we have a long road ahead of surgery, chemotherapy. Like that's seriously just the health anxiety brain. Like that's the spiral that happens. And so like Alison said, catching yourself, community, being aware of all of us feeling this way. Like I could literally feel, I'm such an empath, I could feel Alison's anxiety because I know exactly what I would feel like in that situation. And I also saw my mom go through the same thing. Anyways, I think we've answered this question.
Yeah, well, no. I think actually the other question that I got goes into this first question, because someone asked me about if there's certain like social media pages that are talking about health anxiety, and if I look at them, or if I see so much information on those social media pages, does that actually make it worse for me, or does that make me think about all the bad stuff more? And to be honest, no. But I don't follow pages that are fear mongering, that are always like, I don't just follow pages about anxiety and here's this diagnosis. And there's so many doctors now too talking about, well, if you have something on your skin, check out what it is.
Those the functional health and the wellness. Some of those are like, they'll be like, your vitamin D is low and you're going to die.
Yes,
if you don't get your vitamin D up, there's so many diseases connected to low vitamin D. Right. And you're sitting there like,
Or like, who is so popular, who has a wealth of information, but sometimes it's too much for me, is the medical medium.
Yeah.
Like it's too
He's
much.
He's like, you have parasites.
Right. It's like,
are
you drinking your celery juice? I'm like, no. Oh God, I'm going to die. I need my celery juice. Okay. No. So like things, you have to set boundaries with social media pages like that, as much as boundaries with other social media pages. Like if you find yourself, you have like disordered eating or self-esteem issues or body image issues, I wouldn't follow a lot of those, I don't know, people that trigger that for you. Follow some body positivity pages and stuff like that. So for me, I know what pages about anxiety, especially health anxiety, and other clinicians that I know, like personally, but also that we've collaborated with, that actually aid in my healing and help me, and I feel related to, and I can relate to them. And it actually makes me like be able to be like, oh, okay. It doesn't make my chest feel tighter or my stomach feel in knots or nauseous. Like you have to find the pages that actually make you feel like, okay, I just took a really deep breath and it feels great. So that would answer that question too.
Yeah. I love that. I love that we just spent time on that. Okay, so next question. This is actually kind of ties into it too, because this is something I've started doing again. But do you struggle with Christianity and doing yoga or Buddhist traditions? And okay, first of all, I want to start with yes, or I don't know how to word this. Christian, being a Christian. I don't really know what this person's asking by that. But like, do I conform to like certain views and religious ways? No, not really. I actually feel turned off by all that. I actually feel like when I am in a spiritual setting with God, I believe in God. For me, it's more of like, I want to do good on this world, in this earth. I want to do good. It makes me want to be a good person. Like all of the things I practice are around kindness, love, forgiveness, which are the same traditions in most religions, right? So when I look at yoga, I'm not going and doing yoga and praying to someone or anything. I'm more just like one with self and one with like the characteristics of calmness, centering myself, being present, kindness to myself, love. I think those are all like things everybody should do. I think we put too many labels on things. And I think that's where we fail a lot, because there are people who have said, oh gosh, you posted something about religion. I didn't know this was a religious page. And it's like, no, it's not a religious page. And what I posted isn't to push you to religion. In fact, don't. Like, there's a lot of churches that believe the same things I do. And I'm putting that in air quotes. And they don't preach it right. They preach it very judgmental, or push you to be and do a certain thing. Like, if I pray 10 times a day, I'm going to heaven and you're not. Like, I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe it. I think all that honestly led to a lot of my fear and anxiety around death and dying. I think when I look back on like some of the things of like Bible study as a kid and like these Sunday church as a kid, I think some of it was too much for me. I think because I took it so literal and so serious. And when you take a lot of the things in the Bible and that are preached a lot, and you're a very literal person, you can really get scared. Because I'm a perfectionist too. So it's like, am I honoring God? I'm scared I'm not doing enough. I'm scared I'm failing here. I'm scared I'm not like doing all the right things. Oh, I am a sinner. Like, so does that mean I'm going to hell? And like that stuff can really scare people, especially with if you struggle with anxiety. And so I encourage everybody listening to find your own place with spirituality. Find your own place with religion, whatever that looks like for you, whatever makes you feel safe. I don't know. Did that?
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying, and I agree with I agree with that. I think the what maybe this person, and this is something that I was telling you before we started recording, I don't know if I can relate to or not, because there's so much nuance between the word Christianity and someone who was raised like me. I was raised Catholic, even though it's a sect of Christianity. So is Lutheran and Episcopalian, but their belief system is very different. So if there's like a fundamentalist Christian group, that can be pretty rigid in the way that their teachings are, right? So if someone grows up in an environment where there are certain teachings and values, and they are taught to believe everything in the Bible is the truth and the only truth, then that's going to be very hard for someone who that is kind of their belief system to understand that there are other ways, to other things, that other philosophies, religions, and spiritual practices that are okay to also believe in.
I think they also get too caught up in like the legalism of it, to the where like, oh, yoga, if you practice yoga, you're sinning to God. Like, you're a sinner because of, like you said, following the Bible to a T and not being able to expand your brain. Like, it's not like I'm going to yoga and I'm like praising the devil or anything. I'm not like it doesn't have to be that. You don't have to view it that way. Or like they call it like the new age stuff, right? I don't know. And I feel like it's so caught up in judgment. And when you really break down the layers of,
yes,
oh, if I'm a Christian and I go to yoga and you're saying I'm sinning, like that's judgmental. And for me, that's just as bad. Like it all makes me very like confused and kind of nauseous. And so,
well, so imagine, I guess, who asked this question. This person might have grown up in an environment where that was all that person was taught. This is the truth. The Bible is the truth. You can't believe anything else. And here's why it is. You're going to church all the time, and this is what people are saying. This is the only way. And that is very rigid. So organized religion can be very rigid, and it can keep people from wanting to explore what their own beliefs are. And so I think if you're listening to this and there's a little part of you that wants to explore, that you're allowed to do that. Like, I'm giving you permission to do that. And the only thing that's really difficult for some people in those situations is they might have family members, or they might have a community or friends that's what it's based on, is that religion. And so what are they going to do if they decide to kind of veer off on their own and educate themselves on other ways to believe and think? They might get judged by those
Yeah.
people. And so that's a really hard position for that person to be in. And it's a very complicated conversation, but I will say if you are in that type of environment, being able to have an open mind to other belief systems is like the pathway to freedom, in my opinion. I do not believe that the Bible is the truth. That's just my belief. It doesn't make it right, but it's my belief. I believe in a higher power. I don't know if it's a God, but I believe in a higher power. I believe that when I die and heaven, I have an idea of what heaven looks like in my brain. I've created it. Not because I've read it somewhere, not because it's like, this is what heaven looks like. Heaven in my brain is already what I have in my mind. Like, I know what it's going to be like. Like, I created it. And I'm a very spiritual person now. I'm not Catholic, and I don't really identify as Catholic anymore, but I do really appreciate having like a structure to go and talk to the higher power. So a lot of times I will go to church, but I don't necessarily believe in like organized religion and fundamental religion. And I don't believe in any extremists. Even people that are extremists in spirituality, I don't believe in that either. Anything too extreme can be dangerous. So, I think that I love what you said about like, it's your experience, where you go, wherever you are can be your quote unquote church. Mine is in nature, and that's where I talk to the people that have passed before me. And guess what? There's a lot of people that aren't Christian or spiritual, and they just believe in a lot of science, and they think we just go into dust when we die. And that that we were created by apes and all that, right? Like, and that could be possible too. That's their beliefs. And I actually do love learning about that. I mean, if you can just be open to learning, that is going to be amazing. Like, talk to people like us that you don't know. Talk to like the LGBTQ community and see like what their kind of perception is on organized religions and spirituality. Because, if you're someone who has always believed the Bible's the truth, there's going to be certain viewpoints and judgments you have on certain demographics and certain sexualities, which that's a big reason why I left the Christian Catholicism. And the fun, like the structure of it, because I did not believe in that judgment. Everybody is who they are, and they're born that way. And so, so I found it very difficult to kind of participate in all of that, knowing that I think everybody is worthy of love and worthy of, no matter who they are, what color they are, what sexuality they are, whatever gender they are, everyone deserves kindness and love and will go to an afterlife as long as they, treat other people the way they want to be treated. And that's my whole belief system. There's probably not one other person that believes in every single thing I said, which makes it unique, and that's fine. But at least listen to other people. That would be
I think that's where a lot of issues lie, is like the inability, it's people who can only see what they believe is right, and the inability to listen and just hear other people, the inability to love one another, which I would say almost every single religion says to love one another, and every single religion probably believes at some level that judging others isn't our job. And so I think that's a lot of times where people get turned off, because if we really follow those core values in loving one another, that means loving one another even if we don't believe in what they believe in, being able to see other people's viewpoint. And I think that this question I got was because I was talking about how, hey, tomorrow I'm going to a yoga class, and they probably see I post scripture sometimes. Scripture that makes me feel good, scripture that makes me focus on letting go of fear, scripture that makes me feel aligned with how I'm feeling. And so I think that they posted that, and maybe they're not coming from a judgmental place. Maybe they're just like curious because they've heard you can't go to yoga if you're a Christian. And I don't believe in almost anything. I believe in core values, and I believe I have so much to work on before I can even think about if I should be going to yoga or not. Does that make sense? Like, I don't love one another all the time. I fight that. I fight envy. I fight jealousy. I fight anger towards people. And I have to work on all of that before I judging other people for what they're doing. And I think a lot of us need to take a step back and really look at our heart first before throwing a stone at somebody else.
100%. And I would say, why would any community, and I'm just going to call it whatever community it is, religious or spiritual, why would any extremist community not want to, not want either for themselves or their loved ones to participate in an activity that has been proven to be healthy?
Yeah.
Why do you not want your loved one to, why are you so concerned with what other people are doing with their personal life?
That's the problem.
Or how they choose to live if they're happy?
Yeah.
Why do you have to be in control of what other people say or do with their body, with their sexuality, why is it so important for this group of people to be right with all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it, I mean, for me, I'm so happy being around that community. I am a cis woman. I am straight, but I love hanging out with LGBT. I have so many friends and people I know in the community. I went to Pride. I just feel like they're being able to be who you are. Why wouldn't no one want that for other people? They want to be who they are and they're proud of that. Like, I am so proud for them. Like, yeah. It's just, anyway, we digress. It's not really about like religion, but
basically,
I'm just talking about
just love everybody, guys.
Extremists.
Like, try and love everybody. A lot of times people cast judgment. What I've learned, and because I've experienced this too, is I'll judge somebody or be quick to like gossip on somebody, usually when I'm insecure within. And I think that's something that we really have to like look at first. And so anyways, this question was, can you be a Christian and go to yoga?
Yes.
And I'm giving you permission.
Yes, you can. And also, wait, I just do want to say one more thing, because I feel like I was very passionate when I talked about this. There are so many incredible religions that are not extremists, and they are wonderful communities, and they are such beautiful people involved, and they have great teachings and values. I don't want to say every single one. There are so many wonderful ones, but just the extremist ones, I think that can be. And it sounds like if someone is in a community where they're saying don't go to yoga because you're a Christian, that sounds extreme to me. Sorry. That's all I want to say.
I mean, like, if you're going to yoga and they have like a sculpture of the devil and they're making you like compulsively like bow to it, I mean, like maybe find a different yoga class. I don't know. And like, yeah. So whatever. Next question: is socializing difficult for you? Big switch. This is also another question that I can feel energy very well. And I don't know if you can too. I feel energy. I can literally be around a group of people and just like not be able to socialize because the energy ain't it for me. And I just need to go. And so I can struggle with socializing if I'm around the wrong types of energy. When I'm around energy that makes me feel alive inside, I'm passionate about the conversation, we align on like views, and like it's just a kind conversation, and I'm not having to be somebody I'm not, that the conversation flows so easy. So for me, it's who I'm around. And I think a lot of times I used to judge myself because I couldn't just easily socialize. And I feel like I was always like trying to be someone I wasn't and trying to fit into these groups. And like, I just got to this point where I'm like, that's exhausting. We aren't doing that anymore. And those people can think I'm not a nice person. Because I've also had that. I've had people be like, oh, she's just not friendly. And it's like, no, my energy is valuable. My energy is valuable to me. And I'm not going to waste it being someone I'm not. And that's nothing against you guys, but like, I'm not going to sit in this circle and just gossip. Like, that's just not for me. So that. I might come off socially awkward. I'm also quirky as hell. So I've learned to embrace that. I'm quirky and I'm a little odd.
That's awesome. Well, you're also very self-aware. I mean, that's
maybe too self-aware.
That's a great quality. I am too. But I think that's such an amazing quality to have, to know energetically who you're aligned to, right? And you're very wise beyond your years, because I didn't learn that until, like, I was in my late 30s. And there's people that I have that I know in the sphere of women in their 40s and men, and they are not even close to where you are either. And they need, talk about the Lord. They need the Lord. But I think that in social situations, I talked about this before on a bunch of different episodes, that I, in my 20s and like growing up, had a lot of social anxiety, but you wouldn't even know it, because I was always the outgoing one and like, let's party. But I was drinking a lot. I used alcohol a lot in social situations to make me feel like I was the life of the party. And don't get me wrong, I am sort of a ambivert. I really enjoy being extroverted, but I also need my alone time. And now I understand
enjoy
that.
it with the right energies.
Yeah.
So when you're around the people where you feel like you can literally be Alison, exactly how Alison is at home, because that was what it was for me too. There was a Taylor at home who I was around my family, and why I felt so safe around my family, because I could be this version of Taylor that was her authentic self. And then I would go be in these social groups and I would be this other version of Taylor that was exhausting. And so that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'm an introvert. And then I got to this point where like I found people I was more like, and I'm like, wait, no, I'm not an introvert. I'm an introvert when I'm around people I don't align with. I'm an extrovert when I'm around the people who make me feel alive. Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of like what you said. What's the word?
Ambivert.
Ambivert.
It's basically you're an introvert and an extrovert. You enjoy being around and the energy of good people, and you enjoy going out and being social, but then you also need time to recharge. And the recharge part is what makes you want to do it again, kind of thing. But yeah, so I think it's really hard to understand that. And I think maybe people listening are thinking, okay, well, how do you get to that point, right, of this self-awareness? So what kinds of things did you do that helped you get to that point?
Literally like going through mini seasons of like completely cutting off all friends. Then being like, I'm only going to be authentically myself. I was so truly myself, and whoever was attracted and magnetic to that, those are my people. And I'm an extrovert around those people. And yeah, seasons. Like there was seasons of life I didn't really have many friends at all. I was very alone, but I was also dealing with really bad anxiety. But I was just truly trying to find out who Taylor even was, because I was such a people pleaser and such a I can mask your energy. I was just somebody who would literally mask into all these people I was around, and that exhausted me to no end. And so finding myself, finding and knowing, and I think a lot of people, especially girls in high school and college, they feel like, oh, I'll never find my people. I'll never have friends I feel like safe and comfortable around. And it's like, dude, a lot of times you don't even find your closest friends till your 20s. And don't listen to all the people who are like, I have my BFF since kindergarten. That's not for everybody. Okay. Listen, I was like Alison. We were in Christian school and everything was weird. I didn't know what I was learning. I had to go through a lot of seasons in life. And so who I was in kindergarten definitely isn't who I am now. And so I've grown and developed and become a version of myself who is authentically myself. And now I'm able to find those friends. It took me finding myself though.
I think that, that's part of it, right? Is really becoming okay with who you are and loving who you are and figuring out what it takes for you to get to that authentic place and feel like you're enough just like that, because you are. And no one is perfect. And once you get to that place where you kind of love yourself, you're literally so clear, and there's nothing better, because I know so quickly now, okay, that is not my person and I don't even care. Or I want to say no to this and I'm going to say no. I don't even care about saying no anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, okay. They hate me. Okay, cool.
Right.
You hate me because I don't want to. Okay.
Right. Okay. Bye. Enjoy that.
Y'all have fun.
I am so right. And I'm so, I actually enjoy social situations 10 times more than I thought I did when I was like drinking in the life of the party. I love them. I actually love being around a lot of people that I love now. And I still have a glass of wine here and there, but I hardly drink. There's a lot of people that struggle with social anxiety disorder. Of course, there's a lot of work you might have to do cognitively because you're still having a lot of those intrusive thoughts about like, what if people are judging me, or what if I say the wrong thing? I'm sounding stupid. All of those intrusive thoughts. If someone, you're listening and it's really, really hard for you and those thoughts get really loud in social situations, you may want to go and see a cognitive behavioral therapist. Get some more work, CBT work. You can DM me at The Anxiety Healer if you want some resources on that, because sometimes it's not as easy just to be like, I'm setting boundaries. You might need some clinical work. So, I don't want to minimize that. You know what I mean? But just be patient with yourself. And the whole theme of today's Q&A was to give yourself grace and to really stop judging other people, stop judging yourself. Right? Learn how to accept yourself for who you are and love yourself and love other people. That's it. Mic drop.
That's it. That's literally the best way to live. It's such a happier feeling.
I can't believe this Q&A turned into 45 minutes. And we're we only have 4 questions. I love it. It was so fun. I love these episodes, but you guys keep submitting your questions. We love them. We love coming to you every month. You're going to see and hear more of us. Follow us at The Anxiety Chicks and The Anxiety Healer and health_anxiety. Rate and review and subscribe on YouTube if you can. We'd really appreciate it. And we have some exciting guests coming up. So just stay tuned for all of that. So we love you guys.
Bye.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
We hope this episode reminded you that you're not alone and healing is always possible.
If something we shared helped you, the best way to support the show is to leave a review or share this episode with a friend who needs it.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram at The Anxiety Chicks for more support between episodes.
We're just 2 chicks on our own healing journeys, cheering you on every step of the way.
Until next time,
take a deep breath. You've got this.